Right, hello everybody. I've got a really special guest again with me today. Welcome, Dr. Q. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
That's okay. It's an absolute pleasure. An absolute pleasure. Just to kick off then, um, firstly, I just got to say, I read your book, Eyes Wide Open, and it fell into my lap at the perfect moment because, I'm a vaccine researcher and I've been for a long time, but I have no, I don't have a medical degree. I have no, nothing like
Yeah,
that behind me. So it's been a tough road. So
yeah,
when I actually read your book, I was so connected to it. I just thought you were so raw and honest about med school and about how you're taught and how you're trained, and you actually made me sort of sit back and think for a little bit, and think of it from, because a lot of people are sort of a little bit angry with doctors,
yeah,
now they're finding out while they're finding out, and at first you do get it, but reading your book in particular, how you're trained as physicians, really made me see it from a different point of view. And I just wanted you to touch on that, if you wouldn't mind, Dr. Q.
yeah. No, that's wonderful because I'd say there was probably three or four main um, points that I wanted to bring out with that book, and one of them is, even though at first glance my colleagues are going to think that I'm throwing them under the bus, but it's not that.
It's not that at
One
all.
of one of them was this book is for people to get the big picture and to humanize doctors, nurses, PAs a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay, people are still responsible for what their what their actions are, but to humanize them a little bit and explain how someone like me, who was just a good kid,
yeah,
had just thinking back to my 20s, good kid, wanted to go to medical school, wanted to help people, even wanted to help children, and take that journey from someone with just complete pure intentions and good-hearted, wanting to care for people, and then outlining the process, the indoctrination that we go through, where I dare say, I mean, I know it's fact, none of you would be any different than any of these other docs. Now, can you wake up? Yeah, doctors have woken up at different times, but I would say there's probably not one physician in any country that goes through the training and on day one was like, nope, I'm not going to give vaccines. Or no, I'm not going to give, certain medications.
mm,
It's just an unbelievable indoctrination and brainwashing. It's similar to the military. Like I parallel it to the military
yeah,
in some
yeah.
ways. You
Ask
know,
the questions basically, and there's the quite brutal though, Dr. Q. I noticed, even when you said when you were in residency and working, 80-hour weeks,
yeah,
that is some real. It's almost like they make you so overworked,
yeah,
overtired that you just don't have time to even look outside the box at all.
yeah, yeah. So if you're in a position, and I'm sure people have experienced this in their job, where you're just treading water to keep your head above water and you're
Yeah,
exhausted. And then on top of that, you have all of these mentors and older, smart people telling you one thing 24/7. Of course, you're going to, not only are you going to accept it, you're going to dive into their research. You're not going to go off and start exploring other things. Um, and I know it's hard to believe for some people, but this is how bad it is. I mean, it's so bad that it merely took me reading inserts. It merely took me looking into the basic research behind it all, because they never teach us that in medical school. They never teach us that in residency or fellowship. And once you get, it's almost like if you're a car mechanic and you go to mechanic school and it's just brutally hard and tons of hours, and they taught you how to change a tire, on day two. By the time you're 4 years into it, you're not going to go back and say, wait a second, how do we change that tire again? I think there's a better way to change that tire, because you're already into like the computers of the car.
absolutely.
But
I can hear what you're saying. Yeah.
that's what the I, is this going to go on YouTube? Because I usually say injections instead of, or the V word. I don't want to get you banned.
Oh, don't worry. I'm banned from everything all the time. You carry on. I will put it on
Okay.
YouTube if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine, bro. Yeah.
So I'll try to stay away for some trigger words from AI, but you know, the injections that we learn about, it's just, you know, we never ever learn about potential side effects or interactions between them or interactions between them and other medications. It is the propaganda and the brainwashing and the indoctrination is so streamlined, and it comes from, you know, it's not like, you know, if you go to a school and one teacher is teaching you one thing and you love that teacher, you know, maybe you could find some other teachers down the road that have different ways of thinking. I'm telling you, there's no, once you get to a certain level in a hospital, even just a hospital, but in a nation, they are so uniform in what they are teaching us. You don't ever think that it could possibly be another way.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, like you just said then, going back to the vaccine thing, it's the biggest, definitely the biggest misconception of, you know, that doctors know everything. Because I was a shock for me when I first found out about vaccines. I was pregnant at the time with my daughter, and I watched a documentary. It was called Vaccine Nation. I don't know if you've seen it, but yeah, a guy who was in prison for shaken baby syndrome for 6 years, but it was actually a vaccine reaction, and that shocked me to my core. But the first question, and that made me go straight in with my research back then, but the one question, and it fried my brain for a little while until I was able to research more and see where the connections were. And I was thinking, why don't the doctors know? Why don't the doctors know? And then I was thinking, you know, it's the same thing where somebody will say, well, you're saying all the doctors are in on it. But then that comes down to them not realizing what they're taught in med school. And, you know, and
I would say I would say there's probably very few doctors are out there injecting kids or adults and thinking that there's a potential that something bad is going to go wrong. I really think, because think about it, it's cognitive dissonance. This is what we're experiencing in the world today.
Massive scale.
We have billions of people right now that are looking at the world around them, and it's so obvious to the people that are awake what's going on, so obvious, but that cognitive dissonance kicks in and they don't want to believe another reality. So doctors, nurses, everyone, hospital systems, if they are to think, not only do they have cognitive dissonance because they have to admit that, oh my gosh, maybe I actually harmed a patient at some point in my career. Two, if you even speak of it, you get threatened with a lawsuit. So there's that other thing. So that, you know, the fear of losing their career, and not that they're making that decision in real time. That's in the back of their mind. That's with anything that physicians do. The fear of lawsuits is so strong that they have to practice. They just have to assume what they're doing and what they were taught was right. Because, oh my gosh. It's like, oh my gosh, the other way is horrible. It's just like
scary. It's frightening. I can see why. You know,
it's soul crushing. Soul crushing. You know, so it's so parallel this to being a parent. And you know, you're just a regular everyday parent and you're doing what every other parent is doing. And then I step up to you and say, why are you poisoning your children? What do you mean? Why am I poisoning my? Well, I mean, you as a parent are poisoning them. You're giving them fluoride, right? Yeah. Okay. You're feeding them Takis, which has my favorite example, which has the last ingredient, TBHQ, which is an antioxidant, which is actually an antioxidant for paint thinner and varnish.
This was in your book.
Okay, but you're giving it to them. The parent would be like, no, come on. I would never do that to my children. So listen, we're all in the same boat.
We are.
We're all in the same boat. And it's and so I did write the book in the mindset that I know that people are going to awaken, and I know they are more and more, and I know they're going to be mad.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there's not riots and demonstrations in front of offices. And listen, every person wakes up in a different timeline,
Yeah.
and it's hard, but the reality is we have to give everyone grace. But at the moment that you wake up, you need to do the right thing,
Yes, I
right?
agree. I totally agree. And something I've always stated, if you don't know, if you genuinely don't know, then there's nothing you can do about it. But as soon as you do know, and I know
Right.
people are frightened, I know people are scared, but you're just one of those, shining examples of what really should be happening within this industry,
And so
and
now we've reached that point. You
I
take the
believe so.
UK. Okay. So now we've given you a blaring example of a vaccine that is just horrid. And the data's there.
Yes.
The data's there. It hasn't been researched more than 9 months. So there's no long-term research.
Yeah.
It hasn't been researched in elderly. It hasn't been researched in children. So now, and you are committing a moral crime, an
Yeah.
unethical procedure, because it also all comes back to, which we all need to get. And this is one thing that I want everyone to do with their physician or healthcare provider. I don't care if they're trying to give you a vaccine or prescribing a medication, ask for informed consent. So
Yeah.
informed consent says, oh, you have hypertension. All right. Or you have high cholesterol. This is another big one, statins.
Oh.
Okay, I want you to do this because A, B, and C is going to work well with you. It's going to lower your cholesterol. It's going to reduce your incidence of cardiovascular, all these good things. As a patient, you in turn ask them, okay, well, doctor, I'd like informed consent, which means, could you please explain the potential adverse effects, and not just short term, long term? Can you please explain that to me, because you're prescribing it? And so as a human, to have informed consent, they have to explain that it can cause a number of horrible things.
Yeah, and this happens in, all medical procedures, right? Informed consent is something you have to give the risks and the benefits. Yeah, in vaccination, not only do they not do that, they turn you completely away from the risks, and it's anything but. It's a crazy industry, and very, very obvious what's going on there now, but it's very frightening for people, as we say. But I think
it's the same thing for masks. Masks is another example.
Yes.
If your mayor or your health, department person, whoever is telling you to wear masks, then the next question is, okay, I don't believe that they have a positive. You're saying they do all these things that are positive. Fine. We can argue that another day. Give me informed consent as a human, as a citizen, and tell me potential adverse effects of wearing a mask. That's informed consent, and nobody has done that. Nobody has done that.
No.
The CDC has come close. I mean, Dr. Fauci's already said don't wear them. Dr. Redfield's already testified in front of the Senate and said, you need to wear them when you're asymptomatic. No, he knew, because he was in front of Senate under oath.
Yeah.
But that's what you need. If you could get the ear of anyone, could be your local politician in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy, they're the ones that are voting on it on a local level. All right, you're voting on it. Tell me the informed consent. Tell me the potential adverse effects.
Yeah. And it's something very easily found. And this is another thing that I find fascinating as well, that all you've got to do is read a vaccine package insert. The issue is not only, and they were doing this here in the UK a few years ago, because a few people had mentioned it to me, because I'd said, look, go in and ask them for the insert out of the box. This is the one you want to read. And they'd gone in and they'd said, can I have the vaccine? And they gave them it was like a laminated thing of their own opinion on it then, if you like.
Yeah.
And gave them that. And I was like, this is insane. They're supposed to give it you out of the box. And if they did sit and read it, they'd be very, very, very shocked. Just like you do when you look, right?
I was terrified. What do you mean it can cause paralysis, potentially cause paralysis, potentially cause autoimmune disorders, death, SIDS? They list all these things,
Yeah.
and then they all do, so they don't tell us the complete truth. They all package this into, and this is with any medication, they package it into a 12-month study, 2-year, 24-month study. And so they get this data, which who knows is correct or not, but they don't give you the percentages or the incidence of disease that can be caused long-term. All they do is list them at the end. It's just like the TV ads, when they say could cause blah, 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 and or death.
I was actually going to ask you about that, so you brought it up. They don't have them here in the UK. But my friend, a couple of years ago, she said, have you seen the adverts in America? And I was like, no. And she sent me it, and you'd have like they'd have somebody advertising a vaccine, and the very, very next advert would be, if you suffer so-and-so, so like you just said, these side effects from this vaccine, call this. And I was thinking, and people still don't.
Well, so this is how asleep, brain dead, fluoride Americans are. I mean, my kids, they laugh at it. They know I laugh at it, but they have advertisements for anything, psoriasis, arthritis, whatever it is. And at the end of all of these advertisements, they list, call your doctor if you get a life-threatening illness. Call your doctor if A, B, and they list these horrendous side effects that my kids are like, really? Why would you take that medicine? And then they always say, and or death. Could cause blah, 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 and or death.
Quickly at the end. Wow.
And you're like, wait a second. They just said dying is a side effect of this. Cancer is a side effect. They tell us.
They do, and they have to tell us, and they do. It's just, unfortunately, many of us have been led down we've all been lied to on a huge scale. When I had started researching the vaccines, I cried my eyes out. I was absolutely heartbroken. But then when I came across, the Pizzagate and everything to do with that, I didn't sleep. It was so awful. It just seems to get worse and worse. And I'm guessing this is where you started with
yeah.
Q. When did you find Q, Dr. Q?
So, and it's because it's all related. And like I say, whether or not you believe in QAnon or anything like that, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if none of it's like, if there is no Q, if there's no, what that movement and what that letter stands for is people waking up and doing their own research, period.
Absolutely.
And so, I don't trust any man, I trust God alone and my own discernment. And so the reason that I grabbed on to this so strongly is because it taught me how to research. It taught me how to research. And the crazy thing is that Pizzagate and all these, the cabal and Satanism and all this crazy child trafficking, it's all related. And I think the epicenter is actually the healthcare system. It's not politics. It's healthcare system, because they are committing such atrocious and obvious crimes. The only way they can do it is by dumbing us all down.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you.
They couldn't have done this 50 years ago. People were too smart. But now we're all fluoride.
Part in that, obviously, fluoride is one of the worst.
So yeah, we're all at fluoride, and we all have toxins streaming in our body 24/7. So we're just, like, our IQs are ridiculous. Yeah, we're all in a brain fog. Everyone complains of brain fog. We're all in a state of fog.
Yeah, and in fact,
and that's how
when people come off their meds, one of the first things they say is, I haven't got any brain fog anymore. It's one of the first things they say. And obviously the TV and the media play a huge part in this. Huge.
And so the second reason, the reason I wrote the book and why I think it's going to be pertinent for a while, at least a couple of years, is it's it's not, I mean, it discusses everything from vaccines to medical stuff to adrenochrome.
Yeah.
And it's my journey. It's my journey of how I discovered this stuff. What do you mean there's something called adrenochrome? Let me research that. Is it real? Is it sold on Alibaba? Yes, yes. You know, look at the chemical component, you know, do real research.
Yeah, it's there.
And so the book is it's an easy read, as you know.
Brilliant read.
It's not, you know, if you're awake, you're just going to really enjoy it and you'll get a different perspective. But it's one of those things that if it's laying around, I'm telling you, in a couple weeks or in a month, when the shit hits the fan, it is an easy red pill.
I'm
It's
saying,
not.
I'm just going to say the exact same thing. I'm saying it's a red pill book, 100%.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I read it being awake and I absolutely loved it. I really did. I was so just really happy that you'd written it, really, because I know that would be a red pill book for people. And I think it's an amazing thing you did. And I'm so, so grateful. And reading it was fantastic.
It's on the line of, you know, because even watching Fall of the Cabal, the movie series, I mean, you can only get through about half of the first one. And you're like, wait, hold on. This is too much. This is like soul shattering, reality shattering type stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so little bits and pieces. So that book, and then you start to go in with the movies and have people do their research. You know, it's probably in the same line of, I mean, it's not as good, I'm sure, as Juan O'Savins, but Juan O'Savins' book, Kid by the Roadside, or another where he explains, it's like a magazine that you can just leave in your family room. And eventually, even the most hardened, brainwashed liberals are going to pick it up because they're going to have to learn to survive.
Yeah, because this is it now. You know, the last couple of days, what's going on right now. I know that, you know, all the Twitter accounts have gone down. They're being deleted. You know, Nancy Pelosi is frantic right now. Everything I listen to.
That's the biggest, by the way, that's the biggest proof. If you want to think it's all crazy and a conspiracy theory and this is all BS, well, guess what? Those posts predicted Trump's Twitter removal 4 years ago.
Exactly.
4 years ago.
Exactly.
It's going exactly as planned, to the T.
It really is. And, you know, at first, for me with Q, because I was a hardcore New World Order doom and gloomer, I'll hold my hands up, because everything I was seeing up to a certain point was going that way. So when Trump came along, my partner had followed Q from the beginning, but I was a bit stubborn. I was suffering with my own cognitive dissonance back then, and I was like, no, I wasn't having any of it. All the presidents are selected. You know, it's not all the same, blah blah blah. And the thing that got me in the end, because he was slowly, I could hear what he was listening to sometimes, and he was sort of drip feeding me, and we'd have a few arguments and whatever. And then it kicked in with the vaccines when he said on telly, Donald Trump, he said something like, just get the shot. So I shouted to my partner, see, blah, 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 and he said, Catherine, sit down. He said, how long have you been a vaccine researcher? A while. And how many at the moment are actually pro-vaccine? And I could see where he was going with it. I said about 90%. He went, this is the president of the United States. They're already desperately trying to get him out of there. If he says anything now, and then he showed me his tweets from before, and I thought, there's something to this. And then I went down there too. And it's so obvious actually now.
And it's hard to swallow, but this is a you know, we have free will. And when you take down an industry or you take down an ideology, and vaccines is an ideology, it's not based on science, it's an ideology, it's a social movement. You have to let them, you know, like they say, you have to let the shoplifter leave the store. And are people going to get, I think people really are getting hurt. I don't believe that it's just saline or something. Maybe, who knows? That'd be great. But I'm just getting too many messages and too many stories about people being really sick off of this.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So you got to put it in the perspective of like a century, 100 years. This is a massive crime organization. And you can't if he just came out and said, oh, by the way, vaccines are bad, medication's bad for you, this is
It's not going to work.
okay, wouldn't work. Not even Republicans would believe him.
No, of course.
He'd get like
straight away. They would just remove him for losing his mind. I get it now, absolutely. Yeah.
And so we need people to see. We need people to see that the CDC and the FDA are completely corrupt. We need people to see. Now you can look in the UK and you can look at deaths 2020 versus 2019. And guess what, people?
There's no difference.
There's no difference. There's no difference.
This
And
is
so no, there's actually a decrease. You know why? Because what they did to us increases mortality, right? If you lock people in their homes,
yeah,
and you take away preventative health care like they've done for 12 months, you get increased death, you get increased depression, you get increased suicide, you get increased drug use. So we had an increase in deaths, and this virus, the death rate is so low that it actually just equaled itself out. So it canceled each other. It's unbelievable. So you guys are living in a state of panic and fear.
Yeah.
And you've had no excess mortality, zero.
I to say, I went on the Office of National Statistics the other day, because this is where we get our things from. I did a comparison for the last 10 years, and I showed people there is no spike in disease, but there is a reclassification of disease, because flu, which we haven't, for years, is gone.
Let me tell you, and this is why not all the doctors are in on it, because this is why I left my job at the beginning. I asked very smart people where the flu was, and we had MDs, PhDs telling me, well, I guess social distancing works. Well, I guess, I don't know, it just disappeared. Okay. So you're telling me you went to med school, you went to high school science. Okay. Social distancing doesn't prevent you from paying with money. The amount of paper money that has been exchanged in the last 12 months is in the trillions of dollars, which is, there's germs, there's viruses, whatever you want to believe. That's how disease is spread, with your hands, not your breath. And so you've locked you in your house, but you can still go to work. We've locked you in your house, but you can still go to the bar until 9 or 10 or 11. We've been normal. We've had normal disease spread. This has done nothing.
Yeah.
And so
it's not about this,
So because that's what they say. Well, then now all this stuff has worked. No. We haven't stopped the economy. If you had told me like what my son suggested, like say we had a real pandemic, we had Ebola or something that was really, really scary. Yeah, lock people in their houses, like don't even let them go outside their yard for 2 months, and you probably would stop it. We've never done that.
No.
We've done everything normal. The only thing that we did was prevent you from doing things that make you happy, prevent you from exercising, prevent you from getting preventative care. We haven't stopped money transactions. No, we haven't stopped you going to the grocery store. You still go to the grocery store.
Yeah. Well, they're still playing football games. They're still playing professional football games,
Right.
And I just think, some people are still in such a state of fear. They just cannot see any further, it's so obvious.
And this is fact, these aren't theories. The fact is that China is wide open. China is laughing at us. Wuhan celebrated New Year's Eve in massive crowds. Okay, so you're telling me the epicenter of this entire global pandemic, supposedly, they got over it and they're totally fine, but we have it bad, and they've done no vaccines. They're not even considering it.
They're mocking
People need to wake up.
They put a photo up. It was actually, my friend sent me a message and she said we should have gone to Wuhan New Year's Eve, because they had a photo up with everyone partying, and then London, nobody there. And that's mocking us right in our faces there. As you say, no need for a vaccine or anything else, and they're absolutely fine. But so if
So someone is listening to this over there, because UK is bad. They're real brainwashed. If you're doubting what we're saying, just research Wuhan. Tell me, explain that one to me. How can the epicenter be open, people partying, they have almost no deaths now, and how come you're in lockdown? If you
Exactly.
can't see that that's just a government operation, you're literally insane.
Yeah, exactly. However, I'm considered the insane one for thinking for
Yeah.
telling people the opposite. It's absolute nuts. And I think we've come so far into it now, though, Dr. Q, that people are just doing this out of habit. They don't even remember what any of this is about.
Yeah.
They just go
Yeah.
in with it, just carrying on with their compliance. And I
And,
reckon
and
half
it's
of them know.
and it's they have to recognize the very real, they've researched how to control populations, and one of the biggest ways that you can control a population that I've seen even amongst people close to me is guilt.
Yeah.
Guilt. Okay. So guilt and social responsibility. So there's many people that don't think any of this stuff works, but they don't want to make, the
Yeah.
government has made you think that if you don't do this, you're a bad person and you don't love your neighbor.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You know what? People 12 months into this, if you wore a mask every day and you got crazy and yelled at people for not wearing masks, thanks a lot. My kids have to go to school with masks every day for 12 months now. Healthy children. You did it, not me, because I questioned it. You did it. Thank you. Thanks a lot. They're healthy. They don't ever need masks. This is insane. You have told my kids that they spread disease that kill their grandparents. You guys did it, not me.
Disgusting.
And now you're going to have to pay that.
Yeah.
By consequence.
Yeah.
That's what that so there is a downside. Don't give me this BS. Well, what's the harm? What's the harm? Well, yeah, you can say that when you're just a single person and you don't give a shit about anyone else. Really, you think you do, but you know what? You help the mandate to put millions of kids out of school, or if they're in school wearing masks and afraid to just be in the air, afraid to play in the neighborhoods.
That's the problem, is the germophobia that is going to come through our children. Luckily my child knows the truth. She knows it's a load of nonsense. She's well aware, and she doesn't go to school because she's home educated. But I can see a lot of fear in other people's, and this is going to stay with them. This is, especially when their brain is still developing, how important it is. It's going to cause, and is causing, lots of mental issues in children. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And it is brought on by people complying, as you say, just going along and doing it. Because if everyone said, you know what, this is tyrannical, there's no need for this, there's no evidence of a pandemic anyway, we're not doing it, then we wouldn't be in this position. That's the problem, is that that following along with the compliance is making things worse.
It's laughable. If people think that in 100 years of research, we just discovered that 6 feet distancing and masks work, out of 100 years of research and respiratory viruses, that's insane.
I know. It's incredible how they've managed to get people, but it's 24/7. I mean, I don't watch them, but my parents have got it on sometimes, and it's just, that's all it is. COVID, and nobody knows. They're so paralyzed then by fear. They just, there's nothing. It's a shame. It's a huge shame. But I think people are in for a very, very rude awakening. The next,
it's coming. It's coming.
Explosive. How are things over there?
Let me. It's the same. We're 10 steps backwards. There's more fear, more masks. Where I live, there's the most cases in the United States. It's all cases. PCR test is garbage.
Yeah.
That's been studied, and I think the World Health Organization is even saying now, the CDC put out, which I tweeted, they put out a paper in April and again in June that describes the PCR test, and it says it in black and white. It says that it might pick up coronavirus, not CV-19, but it also may do other coronaviruses, other viruses, and or bacteria.
That's right.
we all have bacteria in our nose, people. So they admit it, okay?
Yeah. The people don't read
So
the people don't read the literature. That's the problem. They admit it,
no.
as you say.
So let me give some positive stuff. Let me give so you're probably already doing this, but maybe some my top health tips. Okay. So this is maybe where people need to do, because none of us are banging our heads against the wall trying to convince anyone anymore, really. I mean, it's if you don't know by now, you just have to figure it out. But you can help them wake up a little bit health-wise. So top 5 things to do to get rid of the brain fog a little bit, okay? One is stop fluoride, just at least in the toothpaste. It's probably in your water, but if you can avoid fluoride in your toothpaste and water, you'll be amazed, okay? You can take iodine in tablet form. That might help chelate, might help draw in and excrete some of the heavy metals that is in our water and in our food and in our vaccines, all that. You can stop eating artificial sweeteners of any sort, okay? That's a big one, big one, big one. And then you can try to do, if you can get your hands on alkalinized water, you know, you can either get, gosh, it's definitely worth the investment if you can get a filtration system, but, you know, you can do a little research and figure out what bottled water is alkaline. Alkaline water is really, really helpful. And the last thing is, which is probably the hardest thing to do, but the most active thing, is read, like I say, read ingredients. And so my new mantra of being a healthcare provider is, I don't believe that everyone is just born to be sickly.
No.
You're not born to be like this. You're born, we're amazing, amazing vessels. And it takes a lot to get us sick, okay? It doesn't just happen because of your genetics. And, oh, it just happens because you have bad habits, you eat too much, or you do this, you do that. It's not that. Guess what? You could probably continue all your habits. If you weren't poisoned 24/7, you would not be sick. And so you need to read ingredients. You can't sit there and complain about your health and complain about the brain fog or all these diseases you have, and then you look and there's chemicals in your food that you don't know what they are.
Yeah.
So that gives you, take back some of the power. You have the power. You know, you can read it.
Yeah.
You can research it. That was part of my awakening, is just a bag of Takis, a bag of chips.
Yeah. It's
Just Google it.
Yeah.
Even Google tells the truth on that one. Research the chemicals in these things. And once you start eliminating these things, oh, the other one is deodorant. Don't put aluminum.
Aluminium, yeah.
So, you know, just so everyone knows, you know, your arms, that's why we take temperature under the arms sometimes in kids. It's a bed of vessels, of blood vessels. You can, and FYI, you can give medication through your skin. I mean, they do that all the time now. It's almost the same as drinking it.
Yeah.
So if you take deodorant and you look at the ingredients again, and there's aluminum, there's metals in it, or there's chemicals, there's toxic chemicals, you're putting it in your arm, that goes in your body all day long, probably 24/7. It's always there, always there. So go natural, go natural.
You know, that's what I actually did because at the beginning it was vaccines for me when my daughter was a baby. I was so focused on them. You know, it took me a little while to get it, but my daughter hasn't been to the doctors in 10 years, and she's only nearly 11 now. She was about 8 months old, and I haven't been for years. Like you say, because I realized what I was actually doing and poisoning, you know, the way my lifestyle then, you know, and I changed that, and I've not depended on it. I've never had to go back, you know. It's really important that we do look at these things, because otherwise we don't know, you know. Years ago, I was absolutely, in fact, the only time I had flu was when I was 19 and I was living in Scotland, really toxic lifestyle, drinking all the time, you know, it was just horrendous. And I couldn't lift my head off the pillow for about 5 days. I was really, really ill. Now looking back, I mean, I thought something obviously made me, but we're looking back now at my lifestyle, I know exactly
Yeah.
what it was, you know, and hence that's why we people have so many have done it, you know, so many have done it, so many have been so sick, and then they've done their own research, and then they've changed their habits, and they've sorted themselves out. So the proof's in the
It,
pudding,
it
right?
might, I mean, it might be easier than some people think.
Yeah,
It might be as simple as changing your deodorant. That actually might make you feel better.
yeah,
That deodorant and fluoride right there alone, boom.
yeah,
Then if you have kids, you know, like I have two kids, and I'm, you know, being a parent is one of my favorite things in the world ever. Um, you need to be very, very active in your parenting, okay? And so I'm not saying I'm perfect, and you're not going to be perfect either. My kids, you know, do they get, do I buy chicken nuggets sometimes? You know, sometimes it's just, yes, sometimes my kids eat stuff that probably isn't perfect.
yeah,
But if you're aware and you start reducing the amount of toxins and chemicals you're putting in your kids, you can see their ADD goes away, you know, all these things, they just act better. Okay. The other thing is your phones. Okay.
oh yeah, yeah, radiation bad.
You know, and you do a little research. I mean, that's common sense. We've been talking about phone radiation for
Yeah,
decades, you
yeah,
know, it's not even like a conspiracy theory. You need to limit the amount of time your kids are on the phone or around or playing video games. And I know that's hard to, trust me, I know. Um, and it doesn't have to be 100%, you know, you just start to make limitations, because you just have to do a little bit of research, okay? We know that radiation or whatever the waves are coming from your Wi-Fi and your phone, we know that's not healthy. I mean, that's just common sense,
it is.
okay?
Nobody argues that. They know.
Okay.
Mm,
Then you can do a little more research and you can look at some patents. I mean, the United States have put out some great patents for cell phones, including not just cell phones, it goes back to TV.
yeah,
And this is, and you can Google this stuff, Google patents. This is not, these are not theories. The United States has patents that talk about television sets emitting certain frequencies to make you feel, to, and they say to control the central nervous system of humans.
yeah, yeah. They
It's
tell
not
you.
a theory, it's a patent. Big companies did it, you know, they own these things. So that's a TV. The other one that I discovered that really like opened my eyes was another patent in year 2000. So this is 20 years ago. And the patent was software that could be placed in a smartphone that could detect brainwaves of people, EEGs, okay? Detect EEGs, download it, and interpret them to emotions, to how you're feeling, this and that. Okay, so then you just have to think it can go both ways. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're anxious, you're depressed, you're addicted to something, whether it's shopping or whether it's pornography, whatever you're doing on your phone,
Yeah,
your phone emits, I mean, I can't prove it, but I know there's patents for it, different frequencies, and learns what you can be addicted to and
I
what affects you,
I
and it
believe
can
that
feed
one.
it back to you.
Mm, yeah, I totally. But it's frightening. But I totally.
So you need time away. When we say time away from electronics, I mean, it really is. If you really want to detox yourself a little bit, you turn off your Wi-Fi, you put your phone on the other side of the house when you go to sleep, you unplug your TV, you know, all these patents, your smart TV can listen to you, your smart TV can
Yeah,
emit frequencies. I mean, this is the world we live in. It
it is.
just,
It's crazy.
but you can get out in nature.
Yeah, best medicine. Best medicine.
It's the
100%.
biggest, easiest one, whether,
Yeah,
and it doesn't, even if you just have a yard, I don't care if you go and walk in your yard and piddle with your garden or whatever, get out in nature, try and do it a couple times a week. Don't get in this mindset, which I know over there, you know, it's cold and gloomy and
It's
And they
freezing.
want us in, why do you think they want us in our house right now?
Exactly.
So they can force feed us TV propaganda 24/7.
And disconnect us from each other, of course, because the minute the pubs have been closed around here for ages. I mean, I'm not a drinker anyway, but I do appreciate people's they socially go out to see each other, and
Yeah.
that's one thing they completely cut out, because they know when people go out and speak to each other in a face to face, a lot of this stuff is going to come to light a lot quicker. They just want that disconnection between us humans, even from an energetic point of view, by staying
Yeah.
feet apart. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
They've literally isolated us, and even when you're outside and you're interacting with people, covering people's faces so you don't get any interaction, you don't get emotional interactions.
I mean, what's this going to do to children? Because they read adults' faces. This is going to cause some real damage, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. And at this point, it just seems glaringly obvious. And if it's not, I ask the people that are thinking that this is crazy, when is it going to end? Guess what? There's a new coronavirus coming. We all know there's a new variant. There's going to be another one in the spring. There'll be another one in the summer. There'll be another one next fall and winter. You really want to do this forever?
Exactly.
There is no end.
It ends when we say no. That's when it ends, So I guess
they've told us.
What's that?
They've told us that even the vaccine, it doesn't stop. They said the vaccine does not stop masks, does not stop social distancing. You can still get sick. You can still pass it.
And you still got to social distance and wear masks.
Yeah.
What on earth was the point in the damn vaccine? It is so obvious. You're right. It's slapping people across the face now. It's just a matter of huge cognitive dissonance.
And they say it only lasts 2 or 3 months. So, I mean, just do the math in your head. They're trying to say that you're going to need a vaccine every 2 to 3 months forever. You're going to need to wear masks forever. Your society will never go back to normal until you say it needs to go back to normal.
I know. And this is, and like you say, they're actually telling us this. It's not like they've hidden it and they're just going to jump on us and say, oh, now you've had the vaccine, we're not allowing you to. They're telling you beforehand, right? You've still got to social distance. You've still got to do this. So what are we all doing then? We've got to wake people up, Matt, and people are waking up, for the last 10, 11 years. I've watched it, sort of gradually grow. And when something big happens, sort of people, but I have never seen anything like it in the last year. Although we've still got a lot of people who can't see it, we've got a lot of people that can, and like this is going to be, like you say, it's not going to be Trump or whatever. It's going to be us. The whole point of it was to wake everybody up, and we, the people, will take that back. And I see it happening. I really do. What do you think is going to happen in the next few days, Dr. Q? What's from what you've seen so far in terms of the election? Because my energy is really high at the moment. It's really high.
Yeah, I know. So personally, this is my personal theory, and maybe I've just gone here because it helps prepare me, but I am prepared, like I've tweeted. I think people need to prepare themselves to lose all hope. So I'm not saying forever, but that thought may go through your head. When that thought goes through your head, we're there. We just did it. That's where I think we're going, because I remember reading some of this and it just makes psychological sense. They're taking us to the edge. So I expect Trump to be impeached or ousted somehow. Literally, I expect people to be like, oh my gosh, this is it. I expect UK to say, oh wow, or maybe people that are asleep, they're going to wake up and say, we're in New World Order. Oh my gosh, I missed it. Like, yeah, this is it. We're done. You're going to get arrested. The cops are going to come. They're going to say they're going to mandate vaccines. All hope will be lost, and it's only going to be a short period of time. But I think it's going to go there.
Yeah.
And that's when the shit's going to hit the fan.
And it is.
And then people are going to be like, thank God it's changing.
Yeah.
So I think the writing is on the wall for Trump to be just totally ousted they're starting impeachment on Monday.
Yeah, I saw.
Um,
Nancy Pelosi is frantic right now as well.
so I don't know if that'll
need to impeach him. He's going in 10 days. He's so desperate now.
Yes.
Desperate.
I could even take it to Biden being inaugurated, but I think my theory is that when Trump talks about a transition of power, he's talking about, the military, and we're already in a state of national emergency.
Yeah.
We don't know who's really controlling things right now. We really don't. And there's a lot of things happening behind closed doors that we don't know about. Who knows? The power of the governments, and this includes UK, may have already changed. This may really just be a show. This may just be playing out what has to happen. And so I think it's going to get a little rocky. I think it's going to get a little scary. But I think we're there. I mean, that's why I'm excited, because that's action to me.
Yeah.
If nothing was happening and it was just normal Trump and normal, we're just counting down the days to inauguration, I'd be more concerned than I am now. There's massive things happening.
Oh,
getting the most powerful man in the world was banned on media. I mean, that's people need to realize that's so huge. That's a communist takeover. That is a takeover.
And I think that, even from that alone, Dr. Q, with the fact that they took the president down, I think that in itself will be a trigger moment for some people to even start thinking, wait, hang on a minute.
So they're even doing it now. So they're not just stopping there, which is interesting. They're starting to do it to liberal accounts too.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, they're not just doing Trump. They're starting to do liberal accounts also. Oh. And so I think it's going to be a complete, they're going to start taking random people on both sides down.
Yeah.
I think that the bombshell is going to be some uniting event, so
I hope so.
Pence, maybe Pence getting arrested would be a great bombshell, because it would unite, because we would show that this is not about Republican or Democrat.
No, this is much, 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 much bigger.
There's horrible Republicans here. Horrible. They're just as bad.
Yeah.
There's no two-party system, just same as in the UK. It's all one party.
Absolutely.
This has been a show for decades. It's like we're watching a football game. It's like we're watching a wrestling event. They've been arguing with each other. It's all been a show. They go and have drinks and talk about the big agenda.
Absolutely, which was why I struggled when Trump came along, because I didn't know anything about, and I have to admit that the media that I preach so much about being bad and being just a propaganda machine, they even hooked me in at the beginning with the Trump thing, because I didn't give Trump a second thought before he was, became president. And then, the nastiness, but share it, because I just assumed that he was put in there as a puppet. And then it was only when I realized actually they do really hate him. And then, I went on with the rest of it. And I thought, wow, this is something.
No, I fell for it too. I was like, this guy needs to get out of here. I'm tired of hearing all these negative stories. It's like I can't even watch the news with my kids. I was there. So I just think, we have 10 days.
Yeah.
I know something's going to, everyone can hold on for 10 days. Okay, hold on. Currently, just overnight, DC has been surrounded, okay? Fences have been put up. The National Guard is in place, up 7,000 troops last night. That's what they're saying. I think, there's things happening in the Vatican and in Rome.
Yeah,
I just saw a video of someone it's just a random person in Rome, and it was like a train of black cars and buses and all this, must have been 30 of them. 30 of them. I haven't
seen that one yet, but what?
Blacked out windows.
On, isn't it? Something huge is going on here, and I'm actually. I've got
Pakistan, the entire country went dark. The entire country of Pakistan went dark. You know, there's outages happening in the world. So incredible stuff is happening. Incredible stuff.
I watched, it was only, oh, what was his name? Lieutenant General McClennany, is it?
Yeah,
His name? And I watched
McInerney.
his interview yesterday where he dropped, where he mentioned Comey, and what he was doing with China. And he also, and I just thought, wow, that's actually, he would be someone that, you know, say because my dad doesn't, you know, he thinks I'm a bit crazy, right?
Yeah.
But somebody like him, if my dad was watching him, you know, the respect of a lieutenant general, he might actually, you know, sort of.
He said it. He said it, guys. This was a sting. It was a setup. The whole,
yeah, it was.
all of the people in DC, that was all a setup. We got them all. We got all the information, and now we got their laptops, which, you know, all of us know you don't need a laptop to get information from someone. It's all downloaded on the cloud somewhere.
Yeah.
But for the public and for the average Joe who's brain dead, fluoride, brain dead, they're going to be like, oh, well, they got a laptop. They must have a lot of, it's an easy transition.
It is. I see what you're saying there, actually. It didn't cross my mind until you just said it, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
So now they can say, hey, Joe, sitting there depressed in your lonely apartment, sick, look, we got a laptop, and the laptop has horrible information on it. And they'll be like, wow, okay, that makes sense. And then we'll, you know, further down the line say, well, the NSA listens and records everything. All of us do. So
yeah,
that's probably too big of a pill for everyone to swallow, knowing that we're all surveilled 24/7.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and I think it just, with me anyway, it just got to the point where I just got no fear anymore. I've got no fear at all, none. I've actually just got hope and faith, and I've got a really good feeling. I just, you know,
and you just know
is good.
Just know, because I know it's different in the UK. Just know the Patriots here. I mean, this is millions, mega millions of people. We're not going to take it.
No, absolutely.
I don't care what they do, what their plan is. Eventually, we're not going to take it, and they know that. Okay. Yeah. And so what's going to happen? Some amazing things are going to happen over here, and it's going to get bumpy and it's going to get crazy. I think for Europe and the UK and all that, obviously that's the next step.
Yeah.
But I think it probably relies more on the people. We're so brainwashed into thinking our government is good. It's going to take a government or a military action. Over there, you guys are used to standing up. You know, you don't have to go back many decades. There's been plenty of revolutions in that area of the world, you know, over there. At some point, like I see these cops in London and all, they don't even have guns. Don't let them arrest an old lady. Gang up on them. Don't let them take your rights away. They're just people.
Yeah.
Run for you.
With the police as well over here, you know, most of them, a lot, you know, because somebody I know is that they fit alarms for like security systems. So they work in a lot of police stations. And over the last few months, obviously, they've been in and out of the police stations. And he said, do you know what? 95% of them, if not more, know that this is completely wrong. So they've been asked, you know, well, why are you doing it? And the answer is, in most cases, we don't want to lose our jobs. Yeah. That's the hurdle we've got to jump over. If we don't do it now, you know, we lose everything. So
that's a great point. So just know that, listen, if the military was evil over here and we had to fight the military, we're done. I don't care. It could be 80 million people. There's no, once you threaten harm to a family, they could come in my house and I'd say, okay, what am I going to do? Die over, and I have 2 kids. My point is, you have a much lower hurdle. So the police over there, they're with you. They're just afraid of their jobs. So give them an excuse to give up. And you can give them an excuse to give up by numbers, sheer numbers.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I did a rally in one of the cities by me back in November on the vaccine, and there was a few people there, but there was police there obviously because we were in lockdown and whatever, and they were sort of dotted about. And one of the police officers in particular, when I was saying, I didn't notice, but my friend who was recording me said, because she was recording me from the bottom of where I was speaking. And one of them, they came right over when I was talking about the vaccine and was actually intently listening to what I was saying, you know. So
Mm.
it is, they're on the edge. They're on the edge. It's just that they're sort of like in limbo at the moment.
You know, they need to act like they're doing their job, but like you're saying, probably the majority of them, if it really push came to shove, and you had the numbers, and you're like, back up.
They
You know,
would. I
they're
think
gonna
they
they're gonna
would,
back up.
you know, because
You
these
know,
people don't want to be knocking on people's doors and making it and sort of, you know, disrupting people's time together and knocking for having a little party and stuff and knocking the door.
right?
They don't want to be doing that because the people are going to hate on them for it as well.
Yeah,
Yes, they've
yeah.
got children, they've got families. We're all in the same
So
boat.
so maybe what's going to happen is a revolution over here, and it's going to spread. You know, just
Yeah, I
like
think that's
just.
going to happen. It's going to kickstart it for the rest of us. I really
I
do.
mean, if the Middle East can do it, you guys can do it. Come on. You know, the Middle East, the spring or whatever, I can't remember what that was called, the Arab Spring.
Yeah,
They did it and they had no weapons.
exactly.
And they overthrew dictators just by sheer numbers of people. That's happened so many times in history.
I know.
So you can do it. You just have to get to the point where you've had enough.
Yeah, and there's enough of us to be able to do it, and it can be done. You're right, it so can. The only problem is a lot of people are still stuck in that fear. And sooner or later, though, like you just said a minute ago, the more that this goes on, they're gonna get to a breaking point, and they're gonna be
Well,
like, I've had enough, and we have to do
and I think you guys are getting to the point. It's happened over here in certain cities. What the governments haven't realized, or maybe that this is part of the plan, but if you take everything away from everyone, at some point people have nothing to lose.
exactly.
And
that's
you guys are
happening now. They're taking
you guys are close to that. They're like, screw it. You ruined my job. You ruined my business. You're ruining my life. I'm sick, depressed. I'm done. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I have nothing to lose.
Exactly. And I do think I've got a lot of hope. I really, really have. And I really think we're going to be okay. I think this is the beginning of something massive. But, you know, as you know yourself, researching into all of the bad that's gone on, this is hundreds of years old. This is such a massive operation, worldwide, huge. I had no idea, you know, even though I knew about the child abuse and whatnot and what went on with Jimmy Savile, I didn't have any idea about how huge it was, and you know, the underground tunnels. I didn't know. And when I was like, this is it now. You know, if we can't do it for our children, there is no other option in my eyes. There's no other option. I've got my eye on that timeline, and you know, it's all eyes on America at the moment, Dr. Q. Trust me.
Yeah.
It really is, isn't it?
It's gonna be biblical for sure. I mean, this is so just hang in there, people. Hang in there. And we're at the end, and I just think a lot of great things are going to happen. I think just prepare a little bit, you know, when you start seeing power outages places, you know, just be smart, have your food prepared, have your food, candles. If your power goes off or the cell phone or the internet goes down, you know, like rejoice in it. No fear.
Yeah, no.
Everything that happens now is amazing. It's just like, yes, I can't wait till that happens.
I agree with you. It's going to be I feel my energy is so strange, you know, in a good way. It's just like butterflies, and I just feel really smart. My energy never lies, and right now is feeling top notch. I've got to be honest. Right, listen, I'm going to leave it there, Dr. Q. Thank you. So, where can people find you?
So, well, I'm getting purged on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at dig warrior, the number 4 kids, dig warrior for kids, and my book is on Amazon. I know I don't like Bezos either, but they actually give a decent percentage right now. It's Dr. Q, Eyes Wide Open on Amazon. And, you know, if I can sell enough that I can take it off Amazon and do it myself, I will. But please get it while you can. It's a great primer, and it's a great survival tool. It talks about mass. It talks about stuff that you can argue with or discuss, when the time comes with other people.
I'm going to jump in on there and actually back you on that, because I've read it and it is absolutely fantastic. Order it, guys. It's a really easy read, and it's got a bit of it all in there. And I'm just really grateful to you, Dr. Q.
Thank you.
Writing it is a fantastic book, and I will be promoting it. And
thank you.
Maybe in a few months or something, we can pick up and see where things are, if that'd be okay with you. It'd be great to chat to you again.
Yes, and just so people know, it has hope. I always end everything I do with hope. And there's chapters with new cures. There's amazing technology and cures coming.
Yes.
And so what I was going to say is, maybe in a couple months, let's put this into reality, because I have so many friends over there now. Maybe I'll be over there and we can.
Oh wow! Yes.
Do a rally and.
That would be amazing.
More truth.
Because I know Tara, and Tara, even though she's from, she lives in Essex, she's originally from not far from where I live, only like a 15-minute drive or whatever.
Oh, cool.
Tara. So that would be awesome.
We'll all get together and party. We're going to do it over here. They're all coming over here first. Then I want to go over there. And I just see that in the future. I really do. And we're going to have an amazing time. It's going to be just high, incredible, great energy, and we'll celebrate.
Yeah, exactly. We will. Thank you so much, Dr. Q, and take care and enjoy the next sort of 10 days.
Thank you. You too. Take care of yourself. God bless.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.